Welcome everyone, Marcelo is my name. I am the niche fragrance collector, and I first discovered niche perfumery a few years back now, probably I think it was about 2017. Those who've been following the channel know the stories, the story relating to that. I was doing a walking tour through Florence, and the tour operator said to me, or said to us, here is Santa Maria Novella. The monks have been creating perfumes since 1221. My jaw dropped, bump, and I'm like, whoa, say that again. The what, the who, and how long? I discovered that perfumery wasn't relegated to these large perfume houses like Dior, Chanel, etc., etc. I mean, I've always been a perfume lover. I've always enjoyed beautiful fragrances. But to think that now I could go to Florence, to a beautiful, and if you ever get a chance to be in Florence and go into the Santa Maria Novella pharmacy store, I dare you to walk away with only one fragrance. I mean, I didn't. I discovered that niche perfumery was a real thing. And then I got super excited at the thought that, what if I traveled to different parts of the world and discovered their niche perfume houses that belong to them? There's a place in the world which I am yet to travel, Istanbul. I've tried twice, and that is not an exaggeration. Both times, circumstances, one was called COVID, didn't allow me to cross that bridge. But one day I will be in Istanbul. Now, two brands that I love that really envelope that Turkish feeling. One is Nishane. I love all things Nishane. One thing that they do, and if you look at a lot of their fragrances, they have, I guess they lean on the Turkish names like Hacivat and others that are similar like that. I have a very close friend here in Australia called Ali Erkekli, Turkish man, incredible perfumer. He has a brand called Anka Kush. He too leans into his heritage, and some of the fragrances that he has in his collection have a very amberous sort of Turkish feel about them. Have a look at this brand here, Ephemeral Dyadic. If you were to look at it objectively and say, all right, where does this belong in the world? Well, in my opinion, I would say this looks like something out of New York. It's got a very inner city, urban kind of look about it. If you look at the bottle itself, it has this almost chemistry, laboratory look about it. The top of the actual lid itself, it's quite a heavy sort of silver cap, and it's like scratched or distressed, like something out of a mad professor's laboratory. I love the names of it too. This one here is Missing Feelings, Lost Chemistry. They're just such cool names. This is a new niche house from Istanbul, but it has a whole new edge to it. When I first came across the brand, it was the name and the actual packaging that drew my instant attention. The word ephemeral is, well, for me, it encapsulates perfumery to a T. It means it's a fleeting thing, something that is ephemeral. It comes and it goes like perfume. Even if it lasts 24 hours, it will only last 24 hours. But dyadic was one that I had no idea about. The word dyadic refers to either an intense connection, so it can be an intense connection between friends, but it can also mean just a connection, like you can have a dyadic relationship between a student and a teacher. So Ephemeral Dyadic is almost the perfect description for perfumery. Ephemeral because, well, it's fleeting, it's here and it goes. Dyadic because the moment you spray, it actually elicits an emotional response from me where I'm just like, I just want to almost, I mean, I talk about Alexandria too. At the moment I spray that, I feel connected to the universe. There is, and it's a weird thing to say, but I do feel something tangible, even though it is ephemeral, but I feel something. There is a connection there. Anyway, so Ephemeral Dyadic, I'm like, that is the perfect word to describe perfumery. Currently, Ephemeral Dyadic have 4 fragrances in their collection. I want to talk about these two here. I found that these two here are almost somewhat polar opposites of each other, and I'll go into more detail. Missing Feelings. This was the first one that I experienced. This is one that I fell in love very quickly. It's interesting though. Here's a heads up. Not everybody liked it, or not everybody enjoys it. I don't know why. I don't understand. For me, this was like, I mean, even now as I'm detecting that fragrance, I'm like, I mean, there's nothing in here that would that I put a question mark on. To define it quickly, it's a white musk style of fragrance. So it does have a musky component, but there's no animalic nature to it. If you like things like Parisian musk or even silver musk by Nasomato, this is an easy love, an easy love. See, I'm a big fan of all things silver musk. I enjoy that. The difference is this though. Silver musk has a subtlety to it, almost to the point where it blends with you, becomes part of your skin. You think to yourself, this is what I smell like. Whereas here, I am detecting a fragrance. This is actually something that is quite unique. The other part that instantly made me fall in love is that it has a champagne note. Champagne, I love boozy fragrances. The champagne note is not one that is regularly used in perfumery. Dom Rosa, for those who are familiar with that fragrance, has this beautiful rose champagne-like quality, almost festive smell to it. Whereas here, it's a champagne, and a lot of people say metallic when they describe the champagne sort of scent profile. And here, it's exactly that. It's a champagne metallic component with this very white musk as a base. Glorious. Now, one of the key components in here is this peach, or like a white peach scent profile. So it's not fruity. Again, I think it lends itself, that white peach sort of scent profile with that metallic champagne note. On that opening, I find it extremely alluring. I find that a lot of white musk fragrances don't have enormous projection. For me, this particular fragrance goes from a moderate into a body. However, I find that this fragrance is quite deceptive in its longevity. Again, musk style or white musk style fragrances don't last on skin very long. I find that I normally get 5 to 6 hours out of them. I'm getting 7+ hours comfortably with this, to the point where I actually think the fragrance has left me. I sweat a little bit. I'm not talking about anything too strenuous. And all of a sudden I'm getting this champagne note coming through. That white musk component also begins to emerge. This is an awesome fragrance for an office. This is an awesome fragrance if you were to meet someone for the first time. There is a subtlety to it. It's distinct, but it's not pronounced, so it won't all of a sudden envelope a whole room with this particular scent profile. I find that this is an all year round fragrance. That peach note, that champagne component, easy as a summer fragrance. But as a cooler weather fragrance, which we're currently experiencing here in Australia, no problems at all. The next one is Lost Chemistry, and as I mentioned, I do love the names of each of these fragrances. This one, sprayed carefully. I sprayed twice only because I missed my hand. I find that for me, so with missing feelings, I'm normally spraying probably about 4 times. However, Lost Chemistry does have oud in it, and I'll go a little bit more into that. I only spray 2, 3 if I'm going out of an evening, I'm gonna be in outside, big open space, then I give it an extra spray. If you're not comfortable with oud overall, could you wear this? I'm gonna say yes. It's not overtly barnyard oud fragrance. Actually, if you love More Than Words, if you had an opportunity to try out Xerjoff's More Than Words, I find that this one here has some similarities to it. On opening, the oud presents itself quite quickly. You're getting a wonderful oud note that comes through. Again, it's a very subtle, it's not pungent at all, or that animalic barnyard component that sometimes is associated to oud. What I detect in an instant, and it's in the heart note, is this wonderful fruity component to it. It has equal parts fig and raspberry. And I find that for me, on opening, I feel like all these notes emerge at the same time. The fig note is distinct. The oud note is absolutely distinct. There is a tinge of raspberry, and there is a powderiness too. I find this slight, almost to the point that I almost feel like there is an iris note in there. It's not it's not noted in the notes of the fragrance, but I do get like a dusty, powdery component to the fragrance. This is magic. You'll find that fig note, there's no juiciness to the fig. I almost feel like the fruity component is being supported by the raspberry that's in there, whereas the fig component is more green wood-like. So it's more like, actually, if you grab a fig leaf and you were to crush that, you get that green, woody, slight fruit component, as opposed to breaking open the actual fig itself and getting that really sort of sweet, juicy fig component. For me, it's that green woody part that is accentuated the most in this fragrance. This is glorious as a cool weather, cool day fragrance. It's just pure magic. I have been wearing this over our cooler months here in Australia, and it is magical. It lasts without any level of exaggeration. I wear it of an evening, I have a shower the next morning, I am still detecting lost chemistry on my skin. I feel like the longevity on this fragrance is 10 plus hours without a problem. I was recently traveling and I was wearing lost chemistry as my fragrance as I moved around. I was in a cooler part of Australia. As I was in the Uber driving back towards the airport, I was talking to a man, and I do love that the conversations that are struck up in a taxi or an Uber where the driver wants to speak. This gentleman was from Tunisia, and we were talking about, I think there you go, it's an ephemeral conversation, because our paths, I'm going to say, are never going to cross again. So, and it's an ephemeral dyadic conversation too, because we know that this is not going to happen again. And there was an intensity in this conversation. We were talking about everything, the universe, about the existence of God, about the state of humanity in the world. This was a 30-minute car ride, and we were getting into some very heavy conversation. As I was speaking to this gentleman, I did notice on his review mirror that he had a number of different sort of artifacts. I always find that these are lucky charms, or I believe they to be lucky charms, and one of those things was an attar. He did have a small attar with some liquid in there. As we were talking, he'd said to me, he goes, "I like the perfume you're wearing." We started talking about perfumery, etc., etc. Anyway, we moved on, and as I left, we got out of the car, finally at the airport, he shook my hand. He came out of the car, shook my hand, and again he said to me, "I really love your perfume. It smells like an attar." And he wanted to express more, and I said, "Look, I did notice you had an attar." He says, "I love perfumery." So he was detecting it firstly in the car. Granted, we were in an enclosed space, but mind you, when I got into that vehicle, it would have been already like 2 or 3 hours that I had sprayed the fragrance on me. Then when we got to the airport, he felt a need to tell me again how much he enjoyed the perfume I was wearing. Lost chemistry. I feel that this fragrance has wonderful longevity. It does give me at least 10 plus hours. I also feel that the projection on this is phenomenal. We go from I'm going to say it's in between a moderate to a full when it comes to its level of projection. Even though that this is an oud fragrance, you would think that oud is actually the hero note here. I'm actually going to say it's the fig. For me, that the fig, and it could be the blend between the woodiness of the oud, but then combined with the green wood-like component of that fig fruit note. Pure magic. The way that these two notes are playing together, it's just glorious. The raspberry is definitely there. So if you do love a little bit of fruit components to your oud, it's not overtly sweet. Actually, it's zero overtly sweet. The fruit components are there, but if anything, it's more wood, ambery-like, with a slight powderiness to the fragrance. So there you have it, 2 incredible fragrances from brand new niche house in Istanbul, Ephemeral Dyadic. Really impressive. You'll find that Missing Feeling is perfect for a first date, whereas Lost Chemistry is definitely one. If you want to command a bit of attention, it definitely has that push about it. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you guys all on the next episode.